So what do you do if your dramatic person is someone who is not incredibly talented? That is one of the hardest things to deal with in worship ministry outside of just blatant conflict on your worship team. Now, this is what I would say. You need to figure out what the culture of your worship team is, the culture of your church and the culture of your worship team. Because the goal here is to equip the saints for the work of ministry, right? The goal here is to actually give people the tools they need in order to be successful. Now, my church right now, where I work, is a church of 200 in a town of 100,000 people in between two major cities. So we're not really set up to be a mega church. We're not really set up to be high production. I do want to pursue excellence in our worship. I want to be the best that we can be. But my pool of talent that I am pulling from is not a very large pool. This is not a music town. This is not a town where musical things are really elevated. This is a sports town. Our town is known for its soccer teams. And so just the pool of people that I have to work with is smaller. So I can do one of two things. I could use fewer people, use multi-tracks, and sound like absolutely every other church in this area. Or I can simplify my stuff, schedule the people that I have inside the church, and figure out how to come up with a unique sound for our church that doesn't depend on the strong voices of a few talented people or a few talented musicians. That's what I've chosen to do because we are a church of 200 in a small town. If I was in a big city and there was potential for growth and I had a bigger pool of talented musicians and tech people, if I was surrounded by that, and if I knew that the culture of my church was one that highly valued that, then things would be a lot different. You have to look at your group and decide, who do we want to be in the next 5 years? And then you have to establish at that point a culture that starts moving towards that goal. So if you have a dramatic person who isn't very talented, but you are in the same position that I am in, where it's hard to find people, the average talent pool that you have access to is pretty small, it might be a good thing to equip them and say, you know what, I don't feel like you're quite there yet, but let's work together. Let's get in, make sure that you're in voice lessons or whatever, and or keep going to music lessons and play the simplest part, just stick on the melody or whatever. Equip your people to be involved. Maybe don't platform them to a place, because you do want to protect people. You don't want to platform people who are not ready to be doing a solo and then have them fail at it, right? That is not serving them well. But what you might want to do is continue to pursue a culture that is correct for your particular situation. Now, if you are in an area in a church where you've got a lot of talent and the dramatic person is the least talented, it's going to require some difficult conversations in order to protect your worship team. And what I mean by that is you're not protecting from the dramatic person as much as you are protecting the culture and the integrity of what you're trying to build. And so it's a hard job to tell people no. And if you're doing this, you're going to need to have auditions as well. Okay, you're going to have an audition season at least once a year, maybe twice a year, where people can audition to be on the worship team. And after you do this 2 or 3 times, if you have even one person come in and they're not good at first, they're not good enough to make the worship team at first, and you tell them, hey, this is what you can do. You can go get lessons, you can go get equipped, you can watch these YouTube videos, keep practicing. We would love to have you involved. cast the vision of what they could be in the future, and then they come back and they make it eventually onto the worship team, then that becomes your main story for people who don't make it on the worship team. We asked this person to do these things. They listened, they did it, and they worked really hard, and now they're on the team, right? And so if you're going to establish the high quality worship team, then you're going to have to do that. You're going to have systems and processes. And one of those processes will be an attitude of service on the worship team, not an opportunity for singing and getting on the stage.